What's up guys, Anthony here with another Nuts and Bolts feature. Going to keep moving in the direction of the pedals. We got some requests to kind of get a little deeper into a point that I made in one of my last videos about bass effects basics, but the real pedal that I think everyone should get their hands on is a looper pedal. And the one that I showed you last time was this guy, the Electro Harmonix Looper 360. They also make a 720 version. I thought I'd use this one because I featured it in the last video, and it's like the most basic one that you can get, and I'll kind of show you sort of how I like to approach the looper pedal, why I think it's such an important pedal for people to get from a practice standpoint, from a performance standpoint, and just from a fun perspective. Can kind of give you endless hours or an extended amount of practice time that you may not otherwise have, because you essentially have a band in a box, or well, you're the band. It's not, you put the, you know what I mean, you put the band in here with whatever you're playing. But you can get a lot of mileage out of it just with one instrument, which is kind of what I want to show today, how I like to approach using a looper pedal. So for a few examples, I'm going to show you sort of what everyone wants to do with a looper when they pull it out of the box, and it's like kind of make a little song, make a tune, just kind of play around a little bit. And that can kind of bleed over into how you can practice very efficiently using this thing, and also show you how you might be able to use this in a live setting with a band. Try to take a non-rhythmic approach to it. I'll be playing bass today because I'm a bass player. As I said before, no one needs to hear me play guitar, so we won't do that. The two pedals, the other pedal that I have in addition to this, and we'll pop it up on the screen somewhere here, or Crack videographer Brent will do that for us, is I have a reverb pedal running before the looper pedal. Not imperative to someone playing, but I think it's always a good idea to have one other kind of tonal option to separate from, especially as a bass player, we lay a bass line down or a rhythmic pattern down. If you want to solo or work on some melody stuff on top, or some chord tones on top of that, it's nice to have some reverb or some fuzz or something to give it a big difference from the initial track that you laid down. So first things first, you got your looper home, you plug it in, you hopefully you got all your extra cables, or one extra cable, or however many you need for your pedal setup. And what do you want to do right away is just kind of have fun with it, because that's really what these are about. There's a learning curve to it. You have to understand that if you want to loop things in, you'll never have perfect rhythm, but if you want to get them as close as you can to rhythmic accuracy, let's just say in 4/4, so you loop, say, like a 4-bar phrase, you have to keep in mind that it takes time for you to press that down. I know that doesn't seem like a lot of time, but there's time there. So you have to kind of think about that. That's going to be there. So if you're real slow pressing that down, that loop's going to drag. It might take you a couple times to understand what particular looper you have, whether it's this one or another brand's. They all operate a little bit differently, and ones that I know of don't particularly quantize themselves to make them perfect, unless you run like a MIDI connector to it. And sometimes if you're running from like a world clock, or a MIDI clock, I should say, it'll quantize to the nearest quarter note. So if you're close, it'll get it right on for you. But in this case, you don't have that option, so it's really up to you to make sure that you get a good rhythmic loop. So yeah, give me a sec. I'll get set up here, and we'll show you what I mean by kind of the first thing that I think you'll probably do when you get a looper and take it out of the box. So we'll get set up, be right back with you guys. All right, guys, so here we go. So first thing you're going to do when you get a looper out of the box is you're just going to loop a phrase. You're going to loop some type of ostinato and probably play over it, maybe add to it. This pedal and almost all looping pedals are going to allow you to do overdubs. And so yeah, this is just be kind of an off-the-cuff sort of thing that, you just got your looping pedal, have a little bit of fun with it. So. Let's see. You can hear how that first note, it's a little low, I was kind of slow on clicking that, but it's good enough for me. So there, that's looped. So, you know, what's next? Just play over it a little bit. It's in A minor, so I'll play a C major over it. Oh, cool, that's a cool line. I'll overdub that on. So now that's running. So what else can we add to it? Another texture. Quick example of, you know, right out of the box, not too much experience with it, what you're going to start to try to do. All right, so a second way that I like to approach it is playing like a rhythmic pattern on your instrument. In the case of us string players, we're probably going to resort to tapping on our instruments. If you're playing an acoustic guitar, you got obviously the body to bang on. That's going to be cool too, like kick, snare type thing. And I'll also say this, like, the first loop, I laid a bass line down first, and it wasn't perfect. If you were to try to add a rhythmic pattern into that, that might be very difficult because you weren't metronomically correct. So I would either start with, say, you know, an ostinato that has some type of, you know, harmonic structure to it, or I would start with a rhythmic pattern. Make your choice in the first, because it's going to be really hard to add the rhythmic pattern back over that. Maybe you can do it. It's not necessarily, it doesn't always work out for me. So I'll try something here with like kind of a rhythmic pattern, and then we'll just start layering stuff on top of that. And this is going to be kind of twofold here, because after that rhythmic pattern, I'm going to lay a couple chords down. Let's say I'm going to put like a C major 7, an A minor 7, and then a D minor 7 in some form or fashion. And so I'm going to like write kind of off the cuff a chord sequence, so you're going to get like the improvisational element to it. But also after that, so that's all in the key of C, you can start running exercises on top of that. So you could use this concept for solo performance, or just, you know, messing around trying to write a chord formation, or you can also use it from a practice element too, which I'll demonstrate to the best of my ability, which might not be much, but you know, do my best for it. So, all right, we'll start with a rhythmic pattern. We'll layer some chords on top, and then we'll kind of play around on top of that. Maybe put a melody in it, solo a little bit, or whatever I call soloing. So, all right, cool. So, should be good. I think that downbeat is out of it, but that's fine, as long as it's rhythmically accurate. Yeah, that's hip to me. So cool, put some reverb on, and we'll lay some chords. I'll let the overdub happen here. you know, that was kind of off the cuff, but great element to kind of, you know, if you were just trying to write something on the fly and or trying to work on a concept. So there, I wasn't explaining it very well, but using like the triads or the modes that go up the major scale, just trying to hear what those sound like over top of a chord. And, you know, you could do that really quickly too, without a rhythmic pattern even underneath of it. So you could just lay a C major 7. That's a C major 7 go, and you can just walk up and down it. Shapes across the board to hear how that relates to whatever key you're in. So from a practice element, that's there too. And what I sort of alluded to with that last loop is, so if you're in a live environment, what you want to be careful of, because again, like I said, this never quantizes, it's never perfect. We always understand that. If you have a drummer playing, they're holding down the beat, there's no need for you to try to match that with this, because it'll never happen. They're going to fluctuate a little bit in rhythm. This is never going to be perfect, so they're eventually going to get off. You're going to make, it could be a total train wreck. Obviously, that kind of depends on your monitor system, but like, it's probably better to teeter on the side of caution and not lay something very rhythmic if you have, you know, a band playing. So if we were just on a gig and it was, you know, you're just A minor groove on it. That's the groove of the tune. And you're a guitar player or a bass player, you're not quite in the tune yet, and you want to lay just a pad to have, like, you know, I alluded to before, when I was back in a trio, it was always fun to do this because you only had 3 instruments playing. When you can kind of get a 4th or a 5th, so if we were just in A minor and I had this going on, really big with a lot of reverb on it, where you can't really hear the beginning or the end, you can lay like an ambient kind of pad down. So there's really no rhythmic content to that. If you had a drummer playing whatever, that's not messing anybody up, and you can still play, you know. Not have to pay attention to any one that's going on in that. So you can obviously get further out with all of that. So those are sort of my concepts that I like to think of as kind of looper basics. Anyone that gets a looper, you can easily apply those things to your practice regimen, to your playing regimen, just to, again, either help you build tunes, help you write chord sequences, help you practice ideas as far as you know, any type of like musical theory concepts or anything like that. So super useful pedal. That's why I always say the first pedal that anyone should get their hands on is certainly a looper. So hope that wasn't too long-winded for you guys. If it was, we'll do our best to edit it down. And if you need any questions or have any questions, call me here at the shop. It's 412-343-5299, empiremusiconline.com. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.